what are some of the biggest challenges or mistakes or opportunities, whatever way you want to put it, that you see companies that are coming to you for investment sort of make? Where are people going off the rails?
They don't quite understand that we're not an open checkbook. And so there's that responsibility of the entrepreneur is really important. And that comes with experience, and that comes with knowing that, not only get your enterprise going, but how are you going to succeed?
Yeah.
And I guess maybe one more thing to talk about is coachability.
Yes.
And you hear about that all the time, all the time. But it's true, right? Are they going to listen?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, they don't have to accept everything you say, but are they going to really listen and then think about and then make decisions based on information that is brought to them? So that's a real big one.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Her Table, Her Rules. I'm Juliet Peters, your host, and I am thrilled today because this is a conversation that's been about 6 months in the making. I have two members of Golden Seeds, and Golden Seeds is a female angel investing group, and they invest only in female-led companies. And so this is going to be a very rich conversation today. And I'm thrilled to have Seema Phull with us, and also Kathy Lynn-Cullotta, who really started the Golden Seeds in Phoenix. Golden Seeds is a national group. Tell us a little bit about what Golden Seeds is,
Sure.
Kathy.
Yeah, so Golden Seeds has about, I think, 9 different chapters. We started our chapter here in 2019. And there's about close to 300 members nationally. And to your point, Juliet, I mean, really, our investment lane is gender diverse companies. So we require at least one woman in the C-suite with significant decision-making power and equity. And so it's been quite a wonderful experience for us. Seema's been a member since the beginning as well.
Yeah.
So it's been great.
So Seema, I want to kind of talk about the playing field first, right? So I was kind of reading, because it's been a while since I looked at the statistics on funding of women-led companies or companies with significant women in them, and it really hasn't moved very much. It's still it looked like it moved a little early in 2021, and then it sort of fell back. Is it still around 2%?
So that's a little bit different.
Not right.
So that the 2% that's quoted quite often is just full female teams, so 100% women. And so we really focus on gender diverse teams.
Yeah.
And the last data I saw, Seema, I think you've probably seen it too. I think it was 2024, and it was about 23% of the VC dollars went to diverse teams, which is not great.
No.
But it's not the 2%. So I just want to clarify that. But there's a lot of progress still to be made.
Yeah.
Because 77% of it goes to all male teams. So
right. Yeah. That's still not a good statistic.
No, it's not. No.
So tell me about sort of the difference, and why is there such kind of a drop off though with women only teams, and how sort of many of the companies that you are looking at and vetting to see if they're appropriate for Golden Seeds investment, how many are women-led, completely women teams versus gender diverse teams?
I don't really know. I think we don't see that many complete female teams, and I think part of the reason is, again, there's some balance and in terms of the perspectives and everything else. So I think that we do see a few, but I would say almost all of them have several women in their leadership. They also have men in different roles. So, but I think that I don't know. Do you have any view on that?
Yeah, I would say that. The focus isn't really all women team.
Right.
The focus is to create balance between men and women, because obviously both genders bring a lot of capabilities and their own nuances to a management team. What we want to see is that women have a seat at the table that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Often you'll see that there's sort of check the box. Oh, right. We've got a woman on the table. We've got a woman on the team. We're going to check the box, and no. Yeah. That's A, not okay. B, that doesn't give you the benefit that you actually need by having women on your team, because we have so much to offer beyond just being a woman. And so I think that and we see that when we look at companies that have the check the box versus they truly have ownership, you can see it.
Is that one of the things when you're looking at potentially investing in a company. Is that one of the factors that you look at, is really dive into the people to make certain it isn't kind of a check the box situation?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for Golden Seed specifically, yes. So I have, I'm I have venture capital interest in other groups as well, but specifically with Golden Seeds, we do a really good job of making sure that it's not someone that's just got, check the box activity going on, that in fact, the woman on the team has specific contributions that are going to move the needle. And that's important, is that the woman leadership is moving the needle, not so much whether it's all women versus a mixed, group.
So the other thing I would add to that, Seema, is that we also want to see that she has equity, right?
Yes.
Or across the team, that there's enough equity with those female founders. Because, when these businesses are successful, we want that wealth to go to those women as well, right? So that's the other thing, is we're looking at the cap table and we're looking at the roles that they're performing and how they work as a team together.
What do you see trending for companies that you're looking at? So for people who don't know, maybe we should start and talk about what is kind of high level angel investing. Where does that come in when a company is formed? Where does that, play? And then what comes after typically an angel investment?
So I'll start, and why don't you jump in?
Sure.
So for a lot of companies, the first money they get is friends and family. So, and this is where, again, you probably don't even have your MVP established. You just got an idea. And so we're looking typically for companies that are maybe doing a seed round. And they, so the first institutional money.
Yes.
After angel funding would then come typically VC funding. And that would be a Series A type of an investment. So, but it's a really important spot that we're trying to fill, is to give them enough capital so they can actually start to build and grow and scale their businesses. And that's kind of the focus that we would have. What else would you say?
Absolutely. I think there's actually a misunderstanding about what angels do. People look at the word angel and they think, oh, we're just going to get a handout and somebody's going to write me a check. That's actually not the focus. As Kathy mentioned, it's after friends and family. You've got an idea. You may not have revenue, but you've got an idea. You've got sometimes they have an MVP, sometimes they don't. But the focus is that you've got some traction and you're trying to grow and test. It's very early and it's very risky as well. So we as angel investors know that it's risky, but it's before the institutions get in. So institutions, Series A, B, and C, they're basically de-risked, by folks like us who are putting the money in first.
And that's one of the things that, that I love. First of all, I love that Golden Seeds is all women, because most people don't really realize that most angel investing groups, as a lawyer, I've been with a lot of founders who've gone in for angel investing, and there's very rarely a woman in the room.
Right.
So
now, but I just want to clarify something. So we have a number of our investors are men. So we probably have 80% of the investors for Golden Seeds are women. But again, I think it brings it's a really different kind of a balance. Yeah. But both perspectives, I think, are really important in the work that we do.
Absolutely.
And so when I think Seema brings up a really good point, because you're talking about people think that you're just sort of an open checkbook, a gift, a money fairy, so to speak, right? But you all really vet deeply the company. And on top of that, you're not making, not every company gets an investment. So tell me a little bit about the process of vetting companies.
Sure. So I can take that first. Yeah. So we, that's a really great question, because the way we look at an investment is no different than the way that a venture capitalist looks at it. Yeah. Right. We look at it saying, is the idea valid? Are the people credible? Do they have the track record to be able to be successful? Do they have the passion? Do they understand the market? Is there a market? And is the market big enough? And then what's their moat? How are they going to protect that? So all of those aspects that we're looking at are the exact same aspects you would look at later stages companies as well. So it's not like we're sort of ticking the box on smaller elements before going in. But I think the difference is when you are doing angel investment is that there's a bigger focus on the team because the product isn't quite there yet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so focusing on the team, and as it relates to if it's a woman-led venture, that becomes even more important. And so that's why, when we do our due diligence, it's very, very focused. What is it, like 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks that we take doing the due diligence?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of add a little bit to the process. So we in Arizona and the other chapters, we do office hours once a month. And that's kind of the first place where we start to meet these companies. I would say that quite a few of them aren't ready for Golden Seeds. And so we want to know what they're doing, maybe make some referrals or some other connections for them. And then if we feel that they're ready, then they'll go through a screening process. And we actually screen by sector group. So we've got some expertise in the room looking at these companies and kind of asking those questions. So we've got healthcare and B2B and B2C as our sector groups. And then they'll present, those that go forward will present to our national audience in 4 different forums. And then if that goes forward, then we do a deep dive. Mm-hmm. And if that goes well, and then we go into due diligence. So there's a very defined process. And that's why it takes sort of 6 to 8 weeks. But it's because we really want to make sure that the companies that we fund are really going to be have a great chance to be successful.
Yeah. And I think just one more follow on is that I think the difference between our approach versus maybe other approaches out there, we don't just write the check and walk away. Mm-hmm. We stay with the company and we work with them and give them other support that they need, whether it's coaching, whatever it is that they need to be successful. So that's another element of it.
Yeah. So you stay on and kind of act as advisory board members in some way.
In some formal, we have
more of an
some
informal.
Formal, some informal, but we're there to provide our domain expertise as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is kind of the universe of companies that you're seeing right now?
So, as I said, we're kind of geographic and industry agnostic. So, I would say we have historically seen a lot in B2B tech, which is no surprise. We're seeing, I think, a large number of really good companies out of Arizona that are in healthcare. Mm-hmm. Again, not a surprise. So I think that one of the things we were talking about earlier, and Seema can directly address this, is the whole focus on AI. Mm-hmm. So you've got companies that come through, whether it's a position they have, or they're really trying to do something with AI, but that's something that's kind of in everybody's deck. So we're really trying to take a look at that. We do a little bit of investing in more hard tech type of companies, which are a little harder. You need a little bit more expertise in evaluating those. But I think, we're seeing all kinds of companies. And so it's been, the deal flow part of it has been really exciting for us. Yeah. And I think we've got enough coming through that we've got really good opportunities to invest in.
Have you seen, I know when I sat in on a meeting, there were a couple of, it was early.
Right.
They were, what do you call the office hours, right? And so there were some all women teams on there, and they were tackling sort of women healthcare issues. Right. Is that, and I see a lot of that just kind of out there in general, a lot directed at menopause and other women's health issues. Is that been more common in the last number of years?
I don't know if it's more common, but one of the sort of movements here in Arizona is the FemTech AZ movement. And I think, and one of our members is one of the drivers of that, Dr. Missy Kropover. And what they're trying to do is create Arizona as a place for people to build businesses that are focused on women's health. Mm-hmm. So I think that, just in our own ecosystem, we're seeing a lot of effort around that. I don't know if it's a huge trend. I think in general, women tend to focus in on healthcare and family issues and things like that. So it's not a surprise, but we just see a very robust set of companies across a lot of different sectors.
Yeah, I know just kind of what comes across my social media feed, right? There are a lot of sort of what I'll call primary care that are devoted specifically to women, right? And then there's a lot of, celebrity sort of backed menopause related issues. Those are just things that I kind of see coming through in the last number of years. There's more of a focus on that area of life. Nobody ever talked about that.
That's totally true.
8 years ago. Right. No, you're right.
Yeah. I think there's 2 things that I see happening. One is that I think we're seeing more of it because social media is more prominent, right? So we're hearing more about it.
Yeah.
And the second is, I think that by having celebrities and by having, women sort of create these initiatives, we're making it okay to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's not something that you kind of say, well, that we don't talk about that in public, right? No, we talk about it in public.
Right.
it's a real thing, right?
Right.
So I think there's two pieces that are coming to play. And I think that is actually feeding this understanding that we need solutions.
Yeah.
And that these are real problems,
Right.
these are real challenges, and we need solutions, and we have technology that we can apply to solve those issues that we haven't been able to solve before.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about kind of where you sort of see Golden Seeds kind of heading. Because I think there are sort of two sets of questions. One is related to if you are a woman who has had the ability to succeed at a high level and is looking for a place to put her money and do some good. Tell me about what that looks like. And then on the other side, if you're a company, what does that look like?
Right.
So I can take that one first. So as a woman who's, part of Golden Seeds and has done, a number of investments through Golden Seeds, it gives me an opportunity to invest in areas that I care about. And I think that's really important to me. I mean, it's important to all of us as we sort of look at our second half of our life, right? Is that where can we make a difference? What do we believe in? And how do we actually help propel that change? So it gives me an opportunity to do that. But obviously it's not, like I said before, it's not charity. It's a business deal. It's a business deal, and it's fueling success, right? And so I think both of those are important. And, I would say as a company, what it does for someone who's coming in and looking at it is the first piece is someone who gets them. Right? When you're sitting across from women who are successful, who have had success, whether they've been venture capitalists, whether they've been entrepreneurs, whether they've been corporate folks, it doesn't matter, but they've seen success and they've experienced it. And you're talking to them about your journey to get to that successful exit. It's a very different conversation. Yeah. So I think that's really important. And so our members, as Kathy mentioned, it's not just all women, but 80% of our membership is women. And so having that, I think it's a very special opportunity for a company to go and pitch to women who get it and who are going to listen with a very different ear. Yeah.
So I guess the other thing I would say is that one of the real values I see as a member is you're learning all the time. You're learning from people that have expertise that, in industries or in subject matter areas that you really just didn't know. So there's an ability to continue to learn a lot. I think there's this whole give back piece of it. Yes. And I want Seema to talk about her role as a board member
absolutely.
for one of our companies.
Yes.
But you have a chance to really help develop these young entrepreneurs quite often, help, connect them to, could be customers or whatever it is. I think that writing the checks is the least valuable thing that we do as angels. Yeah. There's so many different ways that we give back. So I actually talk to a lot of people that are interested in exploring membership in Golden Seeds, and we talk about all those things. Yeah. And so I think when you have a chance then to meet some of the members and participate in some of the activities, it's amazing. Yeah. Just the community that's there and really the expertise that it brings.
Yeah. And I do want to talk about the fact that, if when you're vetting companies and you move past vetting companies and you may have subject matter expertise, there's an ability to be able to sort of really be an advisory board or a board member and to continue on the work to make sure that the company sort of goes where. So tell me about that for you, because you serve on the board of one of the companies, and that's a really important perspective, I think, for the audience to hear about.
Absolutely. And it's actually one of the most exciting aspects of being an investor is helping to, sort of what I would say, helping to mentor the team. And in my case, the company that I have, the management team, I think they were just over 30, right? They just crossed the threshold.
They were grad students.
They were grad students.
There you go.
Yeah, they were grad students. So it wasn't like they had never had any professional experience and so on. So it was, I lovingly call the CEO my adoptive daughter because I've just had the opportunity, I've been with them for 5 years, and I've had the opportunity to see the team grow.
Yeah.
And it's such a fulfilling experience.
Yeah.
And it's the same way, whether it's someone in their 40s, 50s, or whatever, because you're adding to what they already know and you're helping them grow and helping them achieve their vision, which is so fulfilling. So I think that from my perspective, the board work is very helpful, not just for the company, but for me, because I also get to learn.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you get to learn new ways, new ways of thinking. You get to learn about new technologies and new industries, et cetera. You know, Kathy made a point about the network, and I want to just echo that point. You know, Golden Seeds members are they've got a wide array of expertise and the industries that they've played in, whether it's health tech, whether it's, you know, deep tech, whether it's AI, et cetera. So having access to that network, whether you're part of it as a as a member, or whether you're part of it as a as a company, portfolio company, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's so helpful. I mean, I'm both. I'm an entrepreneur. All I have to do is send out one email.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, I get 10, 15 responses within hours.
Yeah.
Have you thought about this? Have you looked into this? Have you talked to that person? That's incredible.
Absolutely. I think one of that's a really important point that you hit on, because I think there is sometimes a generational difference that I've seen. I observe it in my own household, which is kind of that misunderstanding of what it means to be a part of a network and how valuable it is to have people that have experience and are able to impart that to you and really kind of help you move the needle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the beauties of angel investing, just in general, is that you have access to incredible expertise that you wouldn't otherwise have.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that must be, as an investor, that must be very rewarding.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, one of the nuances that I will say, the difference between, say, our generation and perhaps generations before, our second half of our life looks very different.
Yes.
Than the generations before. We're not going to sit back and sort of just, chill.
Yeah.
That's not in our DNA,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that that's really important, because that gives us the access of being able to provide our knowledge to the next folks that are coming in and you know, with new ideas, with new ways of doing things, and providing that mentorship is really, I think, very fulfilling for me, at least, I would say.
Yeah. Another thing that we're starting to see is we're also getting younger members.
Yeah.
So people that are in their 40s that are,
Just awesome.
again, this is something they want to do. They're learning it. The other thing I forgot to mention, which is another benefit of Golden Seeds, is we have courses that people can take to learn about angel investing. There's 4 courses that help you understand, cap tables and term sheets, or due diligence, or boards and governance. So there's that. Plus we've actually added some sector specific training, because if you're investing in digital health versus a medical device, very, very different types of questions and dynamics for those businesses. So that's the other thing that, has been really very good, is that you can learn to do this work. I mean, my background's all in consulting, it's go-to-market, not investing, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot I still am learning about
Yeah.
the investment, putting that hat on, right?
Yeah.
But I think that, Golden Seeds really helps you do that. And, you can take these courses. I've taken cap tables and term sheets a couple times, and I probably need to do it again.
Yeah.
Because, again, there's just nuances to that piece of it that I'm still learning.
Yeah. We talk here to a lot of women entrepreneurs. So tell me, what are some of the biggest challenges or mistakes or opportunities, whatever way you want to put it, that you see companies that are coming to you for investment sort of make? Where are people going off the rails?
I would say it would be unfair to say it's just women.
Yeah.
But I would say that there's a couple of areas that sometimes they don't quite understand the market.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you fall in love with an idea.
Right.
And then you think, oh my God, this is just the best thing since sliced bread, but you haven't vetted the market. You haven't quite understood how would you actually take this to a market. So they may not be ready for the depth of questions that we ask.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the second piece is, they don't quite understand that we're not an open checkbook.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you, in the last, 5 years that Kathy and I have been working together, we sort of, after office hours, we're step back and we're like, okay, is this an opportunity, real opportunity, or is this person sort of looking for a check but they're going to go do whatever they want with that check anyway.
Yeah.
And so there's that responsibility of the entrepreneur is really important. And that comes with experience, and that comes with knowing how that, how to get not only get your enterprise going, but how are you going to succeed?
Yeah.
And, it's funny. I always joke with people is that what you also have to think about is the entrepreneur going to use the money, treat the money as if it were their own?
Absolutely.
Right. And
yes,
that's really important. Yeah. And so I think for me, those are sort of the three areas those are the red flags that I often try to, look for.
Yeah.
So, and if I could just maybe add to that. So one of the things that we've coached a couple different CEOs on is really knowing their numbers, right? So, because, quite often maybe they haven't had, in their backgrounds, a chance to really get their arms around what the business model looks like and what are the economics around it, because we need to understand what their assumptions are as they put together their forecasts and things like that. And so that's one area that I focus on, is quite often they haven't really taken enough ownership of the numbers. And I think that's a huge area. Another one is, I think just really not understanding, and you mentioned the market, but also competition. Because a lot of times they're a little bit maybe naive about, what else is out there and what's going on that could damage the company or at least limit the opportunity. And then I guess the last thing is just holes in the team, right? So, and that happens all the time, but just really understanding what that next key hire is going to be and why that particular function is going to be really important to getting them to the next stage. So there's just lots of areas that you look at for these companies, but I guess maybe one more thing to talk about is coachability.
Yes.
And you hear about that all the time, all the time. But it's true, right? Are they going to listen?
Absolutely.
I mean, they don't have to accept everything you say, but are they going to really listen and then think about and then make decisions based on information that is brought to them? So that's a real big one that we look for.
As an attorney, I look for coachability in clients,
That's
right?
That's
because I mean, it's great to have clients that don't listen to you and they run your, you're making a lot of money off of them, right? But that's not really the kind of clients that there's a risk profile that goes with that, right? And so when you're, when you're diligencing an investment, it's the same thing. There's a risk profile that goes with lack of coachability.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when I first, opened my own business, I was really focused, and Kathy knows this, I worked in the startup ecosystem a lot, but it was exhausting for me because I really had to move upstream to people who already had businesses that were profitable, because it's a tough sled.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So, and all of those things that you just said are all of the things that, I've seen, right? And we talk almost on every show, we're talking about knowing your numbers.
Right.
Yes.
You don't need to be a brand new entrepreneur. That goes for every business. Yes. You must know your numbers. You've got to get comfortable with them.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference between, you can tell when a entrepreneur is pitching whether they own the numbers or whether they're fed them numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's really important. And that's something that we really look for when we're talking to entrepreneurs is, how did you get at that? Did your CFO just feed this model to you, or do you actually own it and you understand the guts of it, and how do you actually are going to deliver that model?
Yeah.
And that's important. And I think, Kathy actually hit a really important point, which was that making sure that person understands the gaps on their team.
Yeah.
Too often, early on, you get that, heroic mentality that shows up that says, I can do it all. The fact of the matter is you can't.
Yeah.
And it's okay when you're pitching to that early, when you're pitching to angels, it's okay for you to say, I can't do it all. I'd have these gaps, and this is how I'm going to use the capital to close those gaps. So that's another piece that I think is important to make sure that, you sort of look at when you're looking at an early startup.
I bet that's actually unique. You probably don't have too many people come before you that are willing to admit there's gaps.
Oh, I think a lot of them do.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's great.
They do. But I think that we might be actually focusing in on an area they haven't really identified.
Yeah.
So that's fairly common.
Yeah.
But I think in most cases, again, they tend to be lean teams, maybe a couple founders. And so they know that there's going to need to be some other things. But I think this hero complex thing you were talking about, it's when they really realize that there are certain functions that should be handled by someone with more expertise than they have. I mean, again, they need to go as far as they can with the talent they have, but it's just recognition of what really needs to happen and when it needs to happen. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we focus on that. That's another thing that comes up, the hero complex. And even in the small business context, right? You know, failure to look at where your gaps are and plug those holes through a hire. Because sometimes people are fearful of hiring, and there's a lot that goes with that hero mentality, even in a small business, you know, let alone a startup. So I think that's a really important point.
Well, one of the things, you think you may have mentioned this, but when we're talking to them early on is when what they're raising, like how much are they raising, and then what are they going to use that money for? Because we look very, very hard at that. Because there's just, you know, they're putting it into product, or they're putting it into people. Well, you know, where do they think they need to invest in order to take their business to the next one? And that's it tells you a lot when you look at what they're raising and how they're going to use their money.
Exactly. What's the average ask that comes to you, so that people might understand where angel investment kind of sits?
Yeah, I think it's tough to say the average, because it all varies by what the industry is and, you know, what the product is, et cetera. But I would say that the check size ask has been getting larger. And part of that reason is because of the tech investment. Part of the reason is because of AI that's playing into most of the technologies and so on. So that requires a bigger check than perhaps before. I would say, you know, if I were to look back 5 years ago, angel investment would have been between sort of say half, you know, $250,000 to $1 million. It kind of stopped at $1 million. But now we're seeing, as, you know, a check size as large as, you know, $4 or $5 million, because it's required to propel that. You know, to keep up with the market and how fast the market is moving. So you need bigger plays.
I'm shocked by that, actually.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say, though, is that, you know, most angel groups are not going to be able to cover the whole round. Right. So that's the thing that's also very important. Is like, you know, maybe our check size that we would write is, you know, 200 to 500,000, something. It depends on the company, right? But if they're raising $1 million, then they're going to need to raise money from other groups. So one of the other things that we try very hard for our portfolio companies is to help with syndication, because we've built relationships with other angel groups, and, you know, in a lot of cases, you know, they value the work that we've done with our deal memo, and, you know, how we present these companies. So we are able to often help them bridge that gap, but it's tough. It's really tough to raise that much money when you're that early of a company.
It is.
Yeah. I'll ask one final question, because we really, before we came on, we were talking about AI, and I'm fascinated by AI, and I read a lot about it. And I know that almost every single company claims they are doing AI. How do you kind of vet out the companies that are really doing AI, and then also talk about the cost? Because I understand the data costs in getting the AI trained on whatever the data set is that you need in order to make that AI sort of go is enormous.
So AI is, I don't think you can walk out of your house without bumping into AI these days, right? It's very interesting. So a couple things. So absolutely, almost everyone has an AI angle. And I would say very few companies actually understand how AI is going to be incorporated in their product and in their market. And that's okay. That's not a criticism. That's just where we are, right, with AI. I would say first half of 25, what we saw was everybody that could spell AI was getting funded. I mean, it was like ridiculous, right? But I think what we saw towards the second half of 25 is there's a lot of those sort of prototypes, ideas, whatever, were fizzling out because they weren't providing the value. Why aren't they providing the value? Because AI is an enabler. It's not an end-all be-all. And it has to work with a set of domain expertise. It has to be able to do something that us humans want. And so what we do is, when we're coming back to your question, when we're looking for a company that says they're an AI solution, they have, you know, AI component, what I'm looking for is, tell me, what does a human do today that AI is going to do better? And how are you going to get it there? How are you going to train the domain expertise that sits in the brains of us three, for example, to the model? And that takes a lot of thinking. And a lot of ingenuity. And it takes a lot of cash. Absolutely takes a lot of cash, right? And so I would say very few people have cracked that code. And so that's part of our due diligence. You know, Kathy and I have worked on a couple of due diligence last year that we passed on because they didn't pass the sniff test. Right. It's not about the algorithm by itself. And don't tell me that algorithms was just sort of came out of the air and we have the best algorithm. No, it had to have input from people like us, and how much time and energy have you spent there?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it.
That's interesting. Do you have anything to add to that? It's so...
No, but I think, again, we're all learning, even as sort of angels and evaluating companies, what are those questions we need to ask? And, one of the things that, again, a benefit of a organization as large as Golden Seeds is we go tap the expertise. I call Seema. And so, and so you can bring in the people that can, I think, give a finer look at those opportunities. And then after you've done one or two of these, then you've learned, right? Yeah. And so I think that we're kind of raising our game as well, but we're going to continue to see a ton of that. We just really need to understand, is there something there that, makes any sense? And how does it really fit into their overall business model? It may be an enabler. It may be that this is a core, technology that they're building, but we have to really understand where it fits because it's being bandied about everywhere.
Well, I want to thank both of you so very much for coming and sitting down and talking about this. Like I said, it's an area that not a lot of people understand. Angel investing, they probably don't know that there's a group that is 80% women doing it. And so I'm thrilled to have you here today. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
So I would say just go to the Golden Seeds website. It's goldenseeds.com. And they can also reach out to either Seema or myself. I'm Kathy Lynn-Cullotta, Seema Phull.
I'm Seema Phull.
We've got about 20 angels here in Arizona and growing, which I love. So anyway, we would love to meet anybody, either companies or potential members, and share what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here. Absolutely. And we'll see you next time on Her Table, Her Rules.